My name is Giorgio Barbareschi. I'm the program manager at the European AIDS Treatment Group, and I oversee the work for the Arbidikov project.
My name is Shatyam, and I am the project coordinator for the Arbidikov project.
EATG started the collaboration within the Arbidikov project in 2021, where we were asked to participate in the community engagement work package and the dissemination part of the project. We set up a community advisory panel with members of the EATG and including also community partners from other immunocompromised conditions. We were responsible for the development of a psychosocial research, which monitorized the needs and the perception of the clinical trials within the participants. We met a few challenges. The first challenge was to ensure representation from people from other immunocompromising conditions, which required outreach towards these communities. The second challenge was to ensure that the communication were adapted to a broader public, which was difficult because it was very specific and scientific language used in the project. The third challenge was to develop the psychosocial research, which required specific skills and competencies.
Like Giorgio just said, we met with some challenges, but we were able to strengthen the relationship that we had with the community advisory panel. And that solution was based on trust, and that was also based on the principles of inclusion that we wanted to bring about into this project. And when we had this collaboration, we saw how it strengthened the psychosocial research from a perspective that brought about the community perspective, which was really, really important. The EATG led creative science communication, and we tried to incorporate some comic strips and infographics to be able to disseminate the information among the community members, to make it more accessible in terms of language. And this was really important because the scientific information, sometimes you don't understand it and people won't be able to understand what is being done. So we tried to make it as much accessible as possible.
So we finally ensured the representation of other community outside of the HIV field in order to bring the whole perspective of the participants included in the trial.
And for the psychosocial research, what was actually interesting, we were able to partner with a research hospital to be able to include the community voices into what we were going to do with the research. And sadly, what didn't work was actually the Turkey trial did not happen, but we had active and engaged community members who wanted to really give their inputs to that trial. But this is a lesson for other regional research of how we need to include community members and their voices into the research. So the CAT members became an active partner in this research too, and they were able to provide their inputs and their concrete suggestions on how to shape the research. And this is really important to take into consideration when doing other regional research. Inclusive research takes time and trust, and it's really important that we take this into consideration when we move forward, because at the end of the day, it shows us what needs to be done for communities by involving the communities in the research actually. Inclusive research is not just the principle, it's a practice that we need to take into consideration in whatever project we're doing. And Arbidikov is a great example of that, because that project was able to show us that involving community members from the start strengthened what we were doing as project coordinators, and we knew different perspectives that we were not able to bring to the table that CAP members were able to bring into the project.
The lesson we can learn from this project is that community needs to be taken in account in research, and we hope that Arbidikov will be paving the future work for collaborative research.
And when we talk about Nothing for Us Without Us, it's not just about involving people in field projects or going to deliver services. It's also about research, because research concerns them and impacts them directly. So it's really important that they are involved in research also.